Hello everyone, welcome back to Talk to Harry. My name is Sarah Jane Sugitan and I'll be the co-host of Harry for the next 6 weeks now that we're observing the election rule on the prohibition rather on the campaign period for TV. So I'll be substituting for Mr. Harry Tambuadco. In this show and for the next 5 weeks, I believe we're featuring an advocacy that's very close to my heart. It's by a group of lawyers and law students called Legal Network for Truthful Elections. And we're going to start this week with 3 volunteers from Lente. And I'd like to welcome them to the show, Sean, Robbie, and Chai. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Okay, so you guys are third-year law students, all of you. Incoming third-year law students. And, well, we're all Ateneans, I believe. Okay, so for the next weeks leading up to the election, so today is April 8, and then up to May 13, 2013, you will be active with the group called Legal Network for Truthful Elections, or Lente. Now, I'd like you to explain to our viewers what is Lente. So, who will I direct the question to? Sean.
Yes.
Okay.
So, Lente, as you have said, Lente is for Legal Network for Truthful Elections. Lente is composed of lawyers, law students, and paralegals, and other actually volunteers from all over the Philippines. And we are a non-partisan organization that aims actually to ensure that during the election period, especially the campaign period, that the laws provided in our constitution are actually followed. So you're actually monitoring all of the candidates, all these things that are happening during the election period to ensure that these things that in our laws are being followed. So we are actually following everything that is happening during the election period.
All right, you're going to be, as you said, you're going to be monitoring all our candidates, for example, all the parties interested or participating this coming elections.
Yes.
Now, what precisely, what kinds of activities will you monitor for 2013?
So for 2013, we are actually focusing for volunteers, for actually getting volunteers and spreading the word of Lente. That is one of the things we're actually doing this 2013. We have finance, campaign finance, accountability. That is one of the biggest things that we are actually enforcing and teaching our volunteers. And the last one, voters education.
Voters education. Okay, let's break it down. First, you said you said campaign finance, but I'll reserve that for Chai.
Okay.
Accountability has been the thrust of Lente also in 2010 in the national presidential elections. Now it's a midterm election, meaning we're not going to elect a president, but we're going to elect senators, members of Congress, and so on and so forth. Now, when you say accountability, what do you hold them accountable? Who do you hold accountable for example?
These candidates are actually, they have to follow certain things provided in our laws. So we have to, they have to follow these laws, and if they don't follow these laws, we have to hold them accountable if they actually violate these laws that are provided by the COMELEC and our constitution. So if they have the violations, we have to count them for all the things.
You're going to report them. Di ba nakakatakot? You might actually have instances that you will have to report certain candidates. For example, will that be the, for example, the danger, or is that something that what Lente volunteers will do this coming elections, Robbie?
Sorry.
Yeah, Chai,
actually, we cannot report as Lente, but it's supposed to be the complainant who has to file the affidavit for that report, because they're the person who saw the election offense, and a corporation cannot file a complaint for the election offense.
Okay, so under the law, it has to be a person who has
it has to be a person,
file the complaint. Yeah, a natural person. So hindi pwedeng Lente will be the complainant, for example, in case that you catch a violator, for example. So it will be
that's our role. We're actually helping them to do their affidavit for notarization and other things, so that they will be empowered to complain, to tell us what are their complaints, so they don't feel helpless during elections.
All right. Okay. You'll be monitoring election offenses in essence. As you said, we'll have to stick with the law this coming elections. We want them to follow all the rules. For example, we want all candidates, all parties interested, pati voters, so pati non-candidates, anyone who's interested in the elections. That we all have to follow the laws. You yourselves, you are voters.
Yes.
So, and you are also, well, although, as you said, you are non-partisan.
Yes.
So, do you have any connection, for example, with COMELEC? Are you going to be a partner of COMELEC?
Last week, last Monday, we just signed an agreement with COMELEC, and now we are officially their partner. Last 2010 kasi we were accredited arm.
Yes.
This year, we opted not to be accredited. We did not file for accreditation, but we are on a very good position as we are partners with them. And with the said MOA agreement, we were able to get that we are now focusing on campaign finance.
Actually, I think this is the first time I've heard of a COMELEC partner rather than an accredited. Because in 2010, as you said, Lente was an accredited watch group, meaning you have IDs, you can go inside precincts,
Yes.
diba? And you can monitor, for example, the counting, the voting itself, and the transmittal of the votes. So ngayon, you won't be inside the precincts.
We're not allowed.
We're not
You're not allowed because you're not accredited. Your
Yes.
volunteers are not accredited.
Yes.
However, you will be monitoring campaign finance in particular.
The National Secretariat devised a checklist that will be given to our volunteers from all over the Philippines. And that checklist will then be forwarded to municipal, then regional, and then to our office in IBP. And that way, we can monitor outside precinct and basically check whether or not election laws are followed. So we have a checklist that will be used for this election.
Okay, so it's a national organization in essence. You
Yes.
have lawyers. Do you have lawyers who
Yes,
volunteer
lawyers.
also for
Yes.
Lente? Okay, non-partisan din sila. So they're not lawyers for particular candidates.
Yes.
That's what it means, diba? So you have lawyers, you have law students like yourselves,
We have colleagues.
and you also have paralegals. So how do you find them? Or do you train them to to become paralegals? Oh yeah, Sean.
This week, we actually conducted, we brought everybody from all over the Philippines, the volunteers, for our actually national training for them. So we, ever since 2007,
Election.
since Lente was formed, volunteers actually started forming everywhere, and now they're continuing. So until now, they are still there volunteering for us. So mostly word of mouth, so join
It's
Lente.
actually a good thing because we get to know what's the problem per
Region.
region, per municipality, because it's different per municipality. In Bacolod, we have this chapter, but we don't have enough volunteers to cover all the municipalities. So with this briefing, we get to know, to tackle what our problems are and how are we supposed to give solutions to them.
Okay, give me a picture of what May 13, 2013 will look like for Lente volunteers. You said you will not be inside the precincts, that's for sure. You will have headquarters
IBP.
in IBP, the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. So you're still a partner also of IBP. Is that correct? So
Yes.
is that correct? 2013, you will be you will be in municipalities because you have volunteers
Yes.
in the ground. But what exactly will the volunteers in the ground will be doing? Will they have like a station near the polling precincts, or how will it
It was
go?
discussed it was yesterday that each chapter, regional chapter, will have their own headquarters per region. And then there will be either roving volunteers. If ever a province does not have any chapter, it will tap another province. And from there, from the precincts, municipal level, and then we're going to have the regional desk officers. Information will be passed from each level, and then at the end, where we regional desk officers we're going to compile all the complaints, and if there is a possible witness who's willing to file a case for that specific offense, then we're going to have a case for them.
Okay, let's go to election offenses. What are you anticipating this May 13, 2013? What will be like the most violations that will likely be? Are there already ongoing violations, for example,
I
that
think,
you have monitored so
For
far?
2000, for during the election day itself, I think vote buying is a very
Vote buying, vote
Still
selling.
is.
Vote
Oo,
selling.
number one
It will be.
offense pa rin pala ang
Yes.
vote buying. So, you anticipate that there will be a lot of complaints or reports, incidents of vote buying this May 13, 2013?
I think that is the most prevalent because since it's
vote
automated already, as you can see, certain violations are not anymore much seen. So it's all about vote buying right
Vote
now.
buying. Okay. Yes, Robbie.
But since we already said that 2013 will be focusing on campaign finance, pre-election pa lang, we have to monitor them. when it comes to their
Pre-election. So
expenses.
during campaign, for
Yeah,
example.
their expenses, if they are within the cut limit, I think Chai would be more apt to discuss the campaign finance.
Okay, yes. Actually, that's why we're observing that in this show. Our producer and host, Mr. Tambuatco, is running for Congress of Muntinlupa. Those who are voters in Muntinlupa, well, we are observing that. So we're observing that here, even in the station, no, that although there are certain, I would say, I would criticize the current laws, for example, like we have campaign limits, like the 120 minutes, 180 minutes, they don't seem realistic anymore, but we have to stick with them, we have to observe them, otherwise marireport kami sa lente. Diba? Are you going to have, for example, a hotline, or how can voters, for example, avail of your, I know you have volunteers and you said you have voters education. Do you have a website? How do voters get in touch with the
We currently branded our new website. It would be lente.ph. You can also catch us on Facebook and on Twitter. It will be at lente_ph. And through that, not even volunteers, you can also tap normal citizens to complain. But again, we need, since COMELEC hasn't approved the anonymous complaint, we need to have a natural person, a person who's willing to be a witness. And other than that, again, we have chapters from every province, so they can tap them per municipality, and then those chapters will then forward that to our regional desk officers.
Okay, so you said you were in partnership with IBP. So
Yes.
can voters, for example, in municipalities just go to IBP? Will it be the same as going to Alente volunteer as well?
If it's on the election day, I think it would be possible, since we'll be physically with the IBP. But if it's for pre-election, I don't think going directly to IBP would be tantamount to going to Lente, since we're not within the physical approximate.
So concerned voters, for example, or concerned citizens right now, how are we going to report to you, for example, because it's already the campaign period, diba? So how can anonymous complainants, for example, get to Lente, report it now? Meron na bang mechanism for that, or we'll have to wait for until election day for all the complaints to start coming in?
I think they can, as of now, they can reach us through social media or through their municipal officers for Lente
Social media
volunteers,
first.
and for the Lente volunteers all over the Philippines.
How about voters' education? You mentioned that earlier. What exactly do you educate voters on, for example?
Actually, we're informing the voters for the possible election offenses that the candidates can actually commit. So we're actually telling them that these are violations, in case they don't know yet that there are certain things that they have, certain things are prohibited. So actually, in our website, the website provides for what are the election offenses and how can they actually make an affidavit. And they themselves, the citizens, can actually make affidavits for them to complain for the offenses that the candidates are committing.
Oh, pero if they fill up the complaint, for example, what's the next step? So it's not yet Lente, di ba? I mean, we don't submit the complaint to Lente yet
be
kasi
notarized.
you should be notarized.
It should be a sworn
Has to be
statement.
notarized. Okay.
It should be a
And
sworn
then
statement.
after the notarization of the document, what should happen next? So do you file that with COMELEC directly, or?
The person should actually file that.
Kasi yesterday we were with
Yes,
a COMELEC representative, and she said that normally it would be enough, the affidavit would be enough to have an investigation for that certain offense. For example, there is an excess in expenses. So COMELEC can already start that investigation based on the affidavit. So it would be a start for that.
So approach COMELEC after you execute the affidavit. Like for example, right now we're on the campaign period. Hindi pa active talaga yung ating mga headquarters during election day. You'll be there in the ground as well. But right now, if anyone witnesses any election offense or violation, the prudent thing to do would be go to the Lente website, for example, fill out the complaint affidavit, and then have it notarized at their expense. Diba? And then submit that to the COMELEC to initiate an investigation.
Yes.
Okay. Pero pagdating ng election day, May 13, 2013, so it will still follow the same procedure, more or less. Tama ba yun?
I think it's better if they go to a Lente volunteer in underground. So it's easier and it's faster to file a complaint. And if the volunteer is a lawyer, that's better because they're the one who can authorize the complaint for them, so they don't have to pay for it.
But you will not be, you will not be paying, for example, notarization during
You're charging for
You'll be charging for it. Hindi, I'm sabihin, basta let's follow the procedure. It has to be notarized. So,
Yes.
it cannot be, as you said, it cannot be an anonymous complaint.
I think the jurisdiction of COMELEC is for regional,
Regional.
and if it's municipality, I think you can go to the prosecutor, provincial prosecutor.
Okay, pero what if the complainant doesn't want to identify or reveal his or her
That's
identity?
the thing, because COMELEC didn't approve the anonymous complaint.
That we
Okay, so it cannot be. You have to divulge your identity. So, automatically, marami na matatakot siguro. I mean, I'm not second guessing our future complainants or those who are brave enough to testify, no? Pero, how is that? I mean, if you propose to COMELEC that there be that they entertain anonymous complaints, so is it within the jurisdiction of the COMELEC to provide for that kind of rule?
I think they can pass a resolution perhaps, but we also understand COMELEC kasi if we have an anonymous complaint, it would be very difficult to monitor if it's true, if it's really not something from the opposition of the candidate.
Oh,
But
kasi you cannot call anybody
Yes.
to a preliminary investigation, for
you
example, if
cannot
it's
subpoena
anonymous.
anybody.
Yes.
if-
So you cannot ask any party kasi nga anonymous siya. So how are you going to proceed with that? With an anonymous complaint. But are you still pushing for the passage of the rule?
Yes, but I think we have to at least talk with the lawyers perhaps. They can clear that since we're law students. So may mga technicalities na kailangan for the passage of the anonymous complaint.
Okay, as law students, do you also see yourselves, for example, becoming election lawyers in the future? Is this why you are volunteering for this coming elections with
Yes,
Lete?
we are here.
Yes, Sean.
This is para sa bayan. That's our motto.
Okay.
We're actually conducting this for our volunteers. We're not being paid. So we're here. This is all passion. We want for a truthful election. We have to ensure this thing.
Natawa ako, may underscore on not being paid. No, kasi if you're a volunteer and you believe in it, so you spend your time in it, diba? So, laking bagay na instead if you're just at home, going on social media and chilling, diba? So, you're actually out there, you're spending your time, your whole summer vacation in this endeavor, for this endeavor particularly. So, that's good. I commend you for that. But as I said, para sa bayan.
Yes.
But you're not the only ones engaged in volunteerism. I would think that there are a lot of other groups also interested in for example, in being volunteers this coming elections.
We mentioned that there are other law schools, and actually we have college students, and you would really be inspired for the dedication that the youth has. For example, we have a new chapter in Palawan. A college student really set up the whole chapter in Palawan, the whole province of
A
Palawan.
college student. Isa lang siya.
A college.
Between municipalities.
Wow!
And it was really, really inspiring. Not even a
Daming
pol
trabaho.
sci. He was a petroleum engineering
Student.
student. So it was really inspiring for us law students to see the youth working for Lente.
Yes, kasi being a law student presupposes that you're older than the college
Yeah.
kids. Okay, well, yeah, that's very good to hear that it's not just limited to lawyers and law students. So you're also, even college students can volunteer for Lente. Okay, we're going to talk more about the campaign finance advocacy of Lente when we return right here on Talk to Harry. Don't go anywhere.